I am a walking logo that will learn how to soar to great heights in my life for the betterment of myself, family, and those who are following me. I am a man of character, committed, and courage. I am a man of integrity, intellect, and influence. I am a man of discipline, determination, and dedication. I am a man of faith, focus, and fortitude. I am a designer of my own destiny. I challenge myself and others to be great. I am walking successful in everything I do. I am walking in love. I am a magnet for success. I don't mistreat people. I am my own walking life story. My life is governed by love, respect, and loyalty. I am a walking logo. Not everyone has a right to speak into my life, and I will associate with family and friends that are ambassadors of truth and divine love. I am built to succeed. I am the walking logo.
You know, me and Carlo, we go back. You know, me and Carlo, we like brothers. We was coming up together. You know, we done a lot of dirt. You know, coming up in the streets and whatnot. You know, we had a kind of mindset. You know, like, you know what I mean, an eye for an eye type of mindset. You know, we thought senseless back then. On the streets, man, you know what I'm saying? You know how a brother feel, man. A brother feel like, man, my man a soldier, man. My dude, he a soldier, man. He took that on the chin, man. Not even understanding what he just threw half his doggone life away for real, man. He gonna say it's stupid. You just gonna say it's senseless for real. He didn't think for real. He didn't think before he acted. Man, how did that happen? Come on, man. The man above was on that man's side that evening. What else is left? But my man to sit on down. But lucky he sat down, though. Lucky that man sat down. Lucky that man sat down, for real. Lucky you sat down, brother. Lucky you sat down, for real. On everything I love, lucky you sat down.
There are just a couple of things, and I really can't even think of them, that are worse than being locked up. I think being incarcerated is one of the worst things that can happen to you because your freedom is gone. Others are telling you what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. And you have sort of lost yourself behind bars. At the same time, you've got to take personal responsibility, no matter where you are or who you are, whether you're locked up or free. When you mess up, there's a price for that. Okay, so we move past the price for that. And now we start talking about rehabilitation, returning to society. I think there's few things that are more needed in this country than not retribution, but forgiveness. I think everybody deserves a second chance. And when you get that second chance, you got to make the most of it. We have a prison system that's kind of bursting at the seams in Ohio, and probably that way around the country. When you think about it, there are more people under lock and key in America than in any other country in the world. What do we do with these folks when they come out? Some don't stay out very long. They call that recidivating. They go back in. Others try to make it, and there are stumbling blocks along the way. Because when they go back home, they go back to the same environment that they left. It was dysfunctional when they left and dysfunctional when they come back, so they've got to come back to something else. We need more programs for men and women who are ex-offenders, restored citizens, so they can make something of their lives. I think businesses continue to be too reluctant to hire people who have a record. Just because you made a mistake doesn't mean that you don't have any worth. And let's face it, these are folks, this is manpower, woman power that can be put to use in our neighborhoods, in our communities, in businesses, growing the economy. So we can't act like they're throwaway people. Nobody's a throwaway.
They're getting the skills, they're getting educated, and they're also hearing from those who can be role models for success.
I started selling drugs when I was 13 years old. I spent 6 years in the streets, got incarcerated at 19 years old, served 10 years in prison.
A harsh reality for Carlos Christian. But fast forward 7 years, now he's the keynote speaker for men and women trying to get back on track.
I got into college, business management. I graduated from business management with a 3.83 GPA. I also got into administrative office technology for vocational, learned Spanish, got into the word, got into scripture. So I just basically did a transformation. How do you decrease the recidivism rate? You increase the value in the minds of those who are incarcerated.
That's funny you said that, because yesterday I was talking to a lady who has her brother that's incarcerated, and he's going up to the parole board, and she's telling me, like, you know what, I got businesses for him to go into. He don't even need to work. And I tell her, I was like, man, you've never been incarcerated, so you don't understand the transition. Like, man, being an employee is necessary to become an employer. Like, you got to go through the process. It's something in going through the process. I got released February in 2007 after doing what I did 9.5 years. So in the last 6 months, I was going to be in the halfway house. So I was just like, okay, I was just so excited because all of the work that I had done inside of the penitentiary, I was just ready to rock and roll. So I come to the halfway house, and I'm talking about, it was just something just new to me because I hadn't been outside of the facility for 9.5 years. And I came home to the halfway house, and I was just like, man, I'm ready to get to work. I knew that I was going to get employed. I didn't care about it being right before the Great Recession or whatever, or people talking about how hard it is to get a job, how difficult it is to get a job. I was just so determined to get it done. I remember that at times I would wake up a bit late because my alarm clock might not go off, and my bus, I would catch my bus downtown Cleveland, and I would have to run all the way to Tower City from here, from 18th, to get to the bus, to catch the bus, because I was so determined that I was not about to miss the bus and miss work and get fired and go back to the penitentiary. So it was just something that was in my mind, and I stayed out of all of the mess that be in the halfway house, because it's just like, man, I was so focused. I said, man, I'm never going back to the penitentiary ever again. So yeah, so this is the Salvation Army prospect, and then I had ended up leaving from here, and I went on into my own apartment as well. So I left straight from here and went into my own apartment, which was definitely critical because I didn't want to have somebody else open my doors no more. I wanted to be able to open my own doors. I did 10 years, you know, so it's like, man, I don't want to have somebody else open my doors. So that's why I was so big on getting my own place. So when I was in the halfway house in Harbor Lights, I was actually stacking up my money. So when I left Harbor Lights, I had $3,500 from working my job. I was working minimum wage. So it was $6.85 an hour, and it was just critical. The Wolstein Center right over there. I used to see the concerts and stuff going on from my window. I used to be in my window, and I used to watch the concerts and stuff going on, and all of the cars just pulling up, because mind you, I was in the penitentiary. I didn't see, you know, no real live people. I didn't see society move, and the society that I seen was the rec yard and things like that, and in the hallway. So for me to get released, I used to be at one of the top levels. And I used to look down out the window, and I used to just imagine when it was going to be my time to be in something like that in the Wolstein Center, right? And it was just powerful. Me attending the concert with people who are free, people who ain't incarcerated, people who don't have to think about count time, who don't have to worry about no child hall getting called, and all of all of the things that the penitentiary offers and being incarcerated offers. You know, I just used to look out the window and just think, and that's what drove me and said that, you know what, I'm going to continue to do what I need to do. I'm not selling no more dope ever again, because I will not be in a position to where I got to look out the window and see everybody having fun and living life. That's why I believe the penitentiary is so much like hell, because it's you got to watch everybody continue on with life. You know, and that's why it's so similar to hell. But you gotta feel like that inside of your spirit in order to be able to get it done. So yeah, so I used to come out of here, and I used to just, man, run. I'm talking about from 18th, this is 18th and Prospect. I used to have to run all the way to Tower City because I had to make it there. if I didn't make it there, I would miss the bus. And I'm talking about full sprint. I'm coming out of the penitentiary. I did 10 years, so it's just like I had to get it done. I was in shape, so I used to run the track, and it prepared me to be able to run up and down the street or whatever may be the case. So I used to work on 73rd and St. Clair. So I used to, sometimes I would have to run down that way and catch the bus at that end. So I would have to run through all through the stop sign and just get there, you know, full speed. You know, people might have looked at me like I was about to snatch a purse or something, or I done snatched a purse. This is the Milton Manor, as you can see. This is where I came home to 2007, August 2007, August 6, 2007. I came home, and this is where I came home to. I had this place, I had the security deposit for the Milton Manor before I came home. It was $475 down and $475 for first month's rent. So I gave them the $950 out of my $3,500 that I had saved from working my minimum wage job. So I was just real excited to be able to just have my own keys. They was like, here, Mr. Christian, here go your keys. And I was like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about, right? It was furnished, it had its own bed. This is how I'm thinking. Like, man, it had its own bed, it had a refrigerator, and I was opening the refrigerator. I opened up the refrigerator a few times before I even sat down on the couch, just because I hadn't had the opportunity doing 9.5 years, 10 years, doing 10 years, I hadn't had the opportunity to open my own refrigerator. But everything about prison, it reminds you of death, it reminds you of hell. Like the beds look like caskets, right? Like, it's crazy. So I was able to literally get into a regular sized bed, and this was my spot. Now, some people might have said that, you know what, this is the dumps, man, but it was everything to me because it was better than where I came from. So I was just excited to be a part of this and be able to experience life in a different way. And I had the money to be able to go in here, you know, because I saved it up for my minimum wage job, $6.85 an hour. But one thing that I had going on in here when I came was just the critters. Like roaches was all through this puppy. And I say, man, hey, man, y'all in here living, you know, better than me because y'all eating up all my stuff and everything. Like they was just so disrespectful as a whole, you know. And then I tried to bomb them and kill them, and they got more stronger. They just got even stronger, and they just really started to be real disrespectful. And the thing about the roaches is that they never did come out when I had company. They only came out when I was by myself. And that was the crazy part about it, because I'm like, man, how come y'all don't? I remember we was sitting in this parking lot right here, me and my guy, DeMarcus. Me and my brother, we was sitting in this parking lot, and I was telling him, like, man, I don't want to get out the car, man, because they up there and they just so disrespectful, man. Like, and he said, Carlos, let me go up there and see what you're talking about. And when he would go up there, they never did come out. And then as soon as he left out, it's like they came out, and they was just like real upset that I would be bringing people up in the building talking about them like that, right? So just crazy, man. But that's where I came from, man. That's where I came from. See, people might see where I'm at right now and just think like, man, you know what, that's good, I want to be there. But it's a process. You don't get to nowhere where you at without going through the process. I highlight the work. That's how I got it done, is because of the work. I mean, I put up with the roaches because that's what I had to do, man, at that time. Like, that's where I was at. It wasn't where I was going to be. It was temporary. But because I did the temporary, it stayed temporary. It didn't stay forever. So many times people avoid the temporary, and then that temporary becomes forever.
Recidivism. We want to make sure that people come back to the community who are willing to dedicate their life to changing their thoughts, their attitudes, and their beliefs, changing their way of life.
Like, first of all, man, I need to get the shit strap, please, man. Like, I can't get the shit strap. I should have known, because he ain't got no hair on his face. He got the bony face, so I should have knew where he was up to, man. And I was like, I wanted to get up from the chair, but I was committed. I'm like, it's too late.
actually served 4 years in Marion Correctional Institution. Prior to my incarceration, man, if I could describe my life in one word, I would just say dead, man. I'd say dead. I was dead. Spiritually, I was blind to a lot of things. I'm not saying that I'm all the way there yet, but prior to my incarceration, I was ignorant. I was actually a fresh 21 when I ended up getting incarcerated about 3 days after my birthday, my 21st birthday. Change is something that takes time. And why I say that is because I was incarcerated for 2 years before I actually tuned in.
I remember you said that.
I was doing all of the same things that I was doing on the streets. Smoking weed, drinking.
You said that.
just living life like I was still out here on the streets. And I had a brother that was inside of the walls, a good brother of mine. He used to always ask for me to come over to the chapel, church. So I used, go over to the chapel. And it was just like when I was sitting in there, it's like God just was speaking to me, like directly to me. And so as a result, I decided to make a change. So I stopped hanging out. I stopped having the prison talks with guys. We would sit down for hours and talk about what we used to do when we was out there on the streets. Some of the things that used to take place out on the streets. And I had a hang-up, which was I had stopped smoking marijuana and stopped drinking and stuff. But I had a hang-up. It was cigarettes. And I figured that if I stopped smoking the cigarettes, that, man, me and God would be cool. Like, me and God would be right here. Only to find out that I had so many more things internally that I had to work on. And that's the saying for the Walking Logo program. Starts with the organization. For change can be seen externally, it must be done internally. So I began to just work on myself. I began to change the way that I think, because I realized that the way that I think, it dictates my actions. Our brain sends signal. If I raise my hand, my brain sends signal for me to raise my hand. So I realized that I had a garbage way of thinking, man. My mind, it was just clouded. I mean, I just thought nothing. So I began to take out those old things, what we call renovating. I began to renovate my mind. I began to take out old things and place new things within me that would allow me to go further upon my release. So I just started working within. Man, and it was a constant grind, man, a constant grind.
I want to say I was 24, so my mid-20s. Yeah, and that was my first time being incarcerated in prison.
Okay.
And I did 3 years.
You had 3 years to do?
I did the max on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was my first time, and that's my last time.
Yeah, absolutely.
10 years from now, hopefully I still want to be shooting videos, but I want to be able to help people out too, like, create job opportunities, but within my company, and it's bigger than my city, so I've been reaching out to other cities, other states, and stuff like that, trying to find people to book shoots.
Absolutely.
If I can book shoots, I can hire people in those states to work for me, so they can go out and shoot. They probably don't even have to edit, I send them out to shoot the video, I pay them, they got a job,
Absolutely.
Now they're happy, they're eating,
Absolutely.
other people eating too, and that's just...
That's the movement,
that's the
right?
Goal,
That's the goal.
And if it's a brother and, that I can help out that was like me in these other states, I'm willing.
No doubt.
And then
no doubt.
let them come aboard and be a part of it. What I got going on. Imagine the dream. And,
Ain't no doubt.
Still pushing starts within, because this prepped me for this. You see
Most definitely.
So my company is ITD Films, Imagine the Dream Films. You can follow me on Instagram at Guagredy, GWAPGREEDY, or ITD Films, and you can subscribe to my channel on YouTube, ITD Films.
We grind out here just non-stop. This is how we get it in. Go in the trunk, do a speaking engagement. I got the books and everything. I got shirts. This is how I get it in. Shirts, you know, shirts, everything, man. This is how I get it in. This is how we keep it going, you know. Without no grants, I just continue to grind. I know how to get it in, and that's how I get it in. Shirts, we got books, and that's how we get it done, you know. So I got trunk full of books, trunk full of shirts, and we get it done. Look, the police, but guess what? This is all legal, and this is hope. This is hope in a box. That's what it is, right? So that's the difference now. Everybody in here, I understand that you can get discouraged, but I'm here to tell you today, this evening, to be encouraged, because that is your responsibility, is to be encouraged. We should be excited. We should get out of the bed like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Next level living. But we got to make the decision to be there, because we cannot pay attention to what is going on the outside of us. We don't want to hold the thermometer. We want to hold the thermostat. See, a thermometer, it takes the temperature, but the thermostat, it controls the temperature. You see, because it was a point in time, 13 years old, I was selling drugs, and I got hit at 19 years old, and I had to do a 10-year prison sentence. I had a 3-month-old son. And he would be 10 years old when I had gotten released, but I said that I'm going to be the thermostat, and I'm going to control the temperature. That means that just because I got a 10-year prison sentence, I still have a contribution to make. So I'm going to redesign myself and become the individual that will make that contribution. Nobody said that it was okay for me to redesign myself. I said that it was okay for me to redesign myself. So then, therefore, you see a redesigned individual. You see an individual that is saying, yeah, next level living.
Yeah.
John 16:33, what does it say? Be of good cheer, for I have overcome the world. If you focus on the positive, you will see more positive. If you focus on the negative, you will see more negative. So I gotta condition my mind to be able to look at the positive in these tough times that we are dealing with, because if I don't look at the positive in these tough times that we are dealing with, then I will be discouraged instead of being encouraged. But it is my responsibility to find the positive, because when I find the positive, then guess what? I will be just like this. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, man. Next level living. Now I can make a contribution to society that needs to be made because of the way that my mind is operating. But who is making the decision for my mind to operate like that?
Yes.
I am.
Yes.
I am.
Yes.
If you feed your mind and let your mind control your behavior, you will be in the best possible places that you desire. But if you allow your feelings to control your behavior, you will be unstable in all of your ways, because your feelings are unstable. You might feel good today, you might feel bad tomorrow, based on the news that you have received. But remember, we are a thermostat, not a thermometer. That means that I control the temperature. It's a mindset. It's a mindset. I got a contribution to make. I understand that. It is people out there that is depending on my contribution that I have to make in this society. This is the community coming together. Everybody in here has a contribution to make, and y'all have taken the responsibility to make that contribution. This is why we are giving the awards. We have Jody Ann doing her own news because she has a contribution to make to combat the news that we are currently seeing every single day. Bring awareness.
That's right.
This is the movement. Exciting times. Be of good cheer. We should leave here and say, you know what? Next level living. We done leveled up today because we done leveled up in here. because we say that be of good cheer because I have overcame the world. With that being said, before change can be seen externally, change must be done internally. And today, what I want to let y'all know, I got the books. I got the books, Prison Without Bars. This is how I became free inside of the penitentiary. And I got the other one, The Walking Logo, Taking Back My Life, Volume 2. They are $20, but today, like I said, whatever you want to give me, I'll take it for them. So it ain't even got to be no set price. Just whatever you feel like giving me for the book, I will sign it and you can have it. I also am able to send it to anybody that's inside of the penitentiary, inside of the United States of America. We need to get them the information. This is water to the thirsty. I appreciate y'all.
This guy is phenomenal. He delivers the word. So for now, I feel like anytime I can get him to do some type of speaking and stuff, I will, because he's real. He can relate to people, not just the Christian community, but everyone as a general and a unity. For Pastor Corey to allow him to be up here and speak in his house for the 2017 Community Service Award, it was right on point because he's a guy for the community.
Your commitment and just trying to see it differently, you know, just, I mean, and when you say like, man, we need to stop the bodies from dropping because you know that the rate is high in Columbus, and you know, like
we are at currently 133 homicides, and more than last when they gave the statistics in October, it was 77% were black victims and 78% were black suspects. So I mean, it all goes down. It all goes back to the information. You know, you say that a lot. Like once if they get the information, they start making different choices.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I was just like, yeah. So when I go out now, I'm like, yeah, they need information. They need information.
Ain't no doubt.
And you know, and I hear your voice when I say that. You know, when I say, just like when you say, "Is this thing going? Is this thing going?"
Yeah.
Like you can probably hear my voice, and I can hear your voice. Like they need the information. So, you know, it's amazing.
That's
I mean,
good stuff, man.
It's awesome when I get to sit next to someone that has a heart just like I do.
Most
you know, for our community.
Most definitely.
So,
Most definitely.
and I'll be like, oh my God, Carlos,
Yes, absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. Just get the results, right? Just get the results. That's what it's all about, is getting the results. And just, man, I'm telling you, I'm on it and you on it. So I think that the community doesn't have a choice but to turn the way that we want it to be. You know, so
we gotta get the peace in the streets up there.
And that's the brand right there, is peace in the streets, powerful. Like we need peace in the streets, you know, and we need to support that. And that's what it's about, man. Most definitely. So that's a wrap, man. Before change can be seen externally, change must be done internally.
There's a difference between communicating and connecting. Lots of people communicate, but not very many people really connect. Men in our society are socialized to internalize their emotions, to internalize their feelings, and to really not honestly and factually address or confront the issues that they have. Carlos has a way of connecting with young men that gets them to address their vulnerabilities and weaknesses in a way that few people that I have ever seen have the ability to do. He gets young men who have spent most of their lives sometimes in horrible situations and certainly mostly incarcerated, and he gets them to confront the idea that I have some needs, I have some weaknesses, I have some issues, and I have some things in my life that I must address, or I will die living the same life that I've lived that got me in the situation that I'm in right now.
I started to sell drugs because I felt like that was going to give me the power that I needed to be able to dictate my own life. Until I realized that, hold up, man, I picked the wrong product to be able to get that done. I'm in a position where I'm a legal slave now. And that's what made me change my mindset, because I really did believe that way of living was going to be able to get me to where I wanted to be at in life. I believed that. That's why I was willing to lay anybody down who came in between that. Because I believed it. I wasn't playing, I believed it. I believed it.
So, but then when I got the different information, and I said, hold up, man, they got me off in prison somewhere, man. I can't raise my children, and therefore it's a good chance that my children will duplicate my story if I don't get myself together. And it's gonna be way worse when my children go through this, because that's what I was saying was people who was receiving their sons. They was receiving their sons in the penitentiary. Their sons would come in at 18 and they would be all excited, like, yeah, you know, my son coming down. My son coming down. He'll be down. He just went through LORCI, or he just went through reception at CRC. He coming down. He should be on his way. I'm gonna try to get him over there in my dorm. It's like, and he come in and he looked just like the father. Like, you could not tell me that that's winning, man. People sitting up in penitentiary somewhere, like, that stuff is for the birds, man. There's no way that you can sit up there and tell me that penitentiary is the place to be. So then, therefore, once I realize the penitentiary ain't the place to be, man, I'm gonna develop the mentality that contradicts that 1,000%.
So that was, he used to be so small, and that's Dominique, him, the guy that came in there that's working here, he used to be small than a mug. I knew him ever since he was a kid. Yeah, so I knew him ever since he was a kid. Like, literally, me and his older brother, we used to, man, run together, you know, and we used to put this little brother in the closet. Like, brother, you go in the closet. Like, we used to torture the little brother. But he's grown up now, and he's just like doing his thing. Like, so just powerful, just being able to see, you know, the younger generation growing up and becoming, you know, responsible, you know, adults, because that's what he's doing. He's working. If he's working, he ain't in the streets. And that's one of the main things that we push is, man, you don't need to be in the streets. So then that's why it's important for the exposure, because we show them, like, what can be done. Like, they know me from back then. And for them to see me where I'm at right now, it gives them also hope that they can, you know, also get it done too as well. That they don't even have to go down that path. So that's the game changer. 10 pieces?
I don't remember.
What you talking about? That's Donato's pizza.
Yeah, and there's 10.
It wasn't 10 like that. Try 10 like that.
Oh, you did.
I bet you can't eat 10 like that.
Yeah, because there's not enough pieces.
You can't eat 10 like that, period, son. You gonna tap out after like 3 or 4.
I'm tapping out.
You tapping out now?
What, 2?
Well, how many you done ate? 2. That's what I told you, man. Like, I do this.
You only ate 1.
See, I gotta... Ain't no more of that Pope. Messing around with Buki, man. She got most of the stuff is dang on cheese. This cheese piece is so boring. It's so boring. It ain't no excitement with cheese. Let me get a couple of them dang on sausages. So, I mean, Los, when you was coming up there for the visits with Pops, and we would do the My Child and I Day, and we would be out there with the hay racing around and things like that. How was that experience for you as a child?
I mean, it was a good experience. I felt at the time I didn't really feel like you were in jail. You know, it felt different. It didn't feel like a regular visit. It was different. It was way different.
Absolutely. So, like, was it important? Like the candy that I sent home? Like, was that? Did that make a difference? Like, do you remember that?
Yeah, boxes of candy, letters, books with tapes. Yeah, it was important. It definitely helped me. Well, not the candy. Candy definitely didn't help me.
Say in the long run, it didn't help. Like, man, that's crazy. That's what your mom, she be saying too. She be like, man, do you know, man, the dang on dental bill, man, from all that candy? I used to load you up too, man.
That stuff was crazy.
Whole box full of candy.
It was $15 worth of candy, man. They was 50 cents a pop then too, man. So I used to load you up, man. You know, this is what they say now. They say that statistically speaking, you know, if you had a parent that's incarcerated, by the time you're 18, you'll be incarcerated too. What do you have to say to the people who have the statistics like that?
I have not been incarcerated, and I'm 20 now.
Man,
I will not be.
You say that's not your thing, huh? Like, it's not your thing, right? So you are defying the odds, man. You know, graduated. They say statistically speaking, you weren't supposed to graduate either. And you've been able to get that done, man.
I think the first session was father factor. And personally, nobody knew. I was going through a problem and an issue myself as far as with my kids and everything else. Like, I had a fiance at the time, but I had another child outside of my fiance. So my child's mother, and she had put me on child support when I got incarcerated. So as far as like my child support was adding up, like back pay, like they still want their money. They still wanted their money regardless of me being incarcerated or not. They still wanted their money. So I talked to Carlos. I'm like, how can I resolve this? Like my back pay was adding up. You know, I was locked up 5 years. Like that's 5 years of back pay adding up. So I talked to Carlos, and the brother, man, he brought somebody in. He brought a good brother in who dealt with child support agency and everything, and he got my payments modified.
What are some of the challenges that you may see, you know, as far as the fathers and how they approach their child support orders and things like that? What are some of the challenges that you see that they face?
The biggest thing for me, what I've seen, is the lack of education, the lack of knowledge. And that's one thing that I pride myself to provide to incarcerated individuals, just to give them the information so they're equipped with knowing, yes, every 36 months it is your right to ask for a review, because sometimes people don't know. Or just giving them the understanding of, you know, the whole paternity piece of, you know, how to establish paternity. What does paternity establishment mean, not only to you, but to your children? So I come at it from a standpoint of the challenge is education. So I always want to make sure I meet people where they are to provide them with that education.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. One thing that you ladies, both of you ladies, do is y'all have just really is attached to this movement as far as standing up the father. It's almost like it is your father that's incarcerated or is struggling from child support. You know, I mean, just y'all's dedication and commitment. What is that about? What drives you? What is the mindset behind that?
That's a really good question, Carlos. A couple of things for me. At the end of the day, it's about the children.
Yes.
Absolutely about the children. So yes, at the Commission on Fatherhood, we do, advocate positive policy for fathers and families. We do fund programs.
Yes.
We do, travel throughout the state of Ohio and sometimes outside of Ohio.
Yes.
Again, promoting and bringing the awareness of the importance that fathers do play in their children's lives. But again, at the end of the day, it's about our children.
Yes.
Because scholarly research shows, again, this is not just information we're pulling out of the air. This is years and years of research that there's something that happens with our children when dad is not there.
Yes, yes.
And it's important to me, first of all, to ensure that we do bring dad back to the family. That's A. And then B, to work with systems to make that an easy process,
yes,
right? To make that a seamless process to bring them back to their families and to their children. Secondly, my personal experience. I am no longer married to the father of my children,
yes,
but he is there. And so we decided when we got divorced that we were not going to allow our children to become statistics. Because again, the research shows when dad is not there, 7 times more likely for your child to become pregnant as a teen, 2 times more likely for an infant to not reach his or her first birthday. So now we're dealing with infant mortality. Kids have antisocial behavioral problems, they end up in the criminal justice system. They don't do as well on tests academically. So again, for me, it's about the children.
Yes.
I actually lived it. I watched it. My children are older now. And I do believe that without their dad actually being there and being present and being a good father, that they would probably not be where they are today.
Yes.
And I want that for every child.
Yes.
I want that for every child.
Yes, absolutely.
My first job was a landscaping job, and the landscaping job was a commute, so I needed my license. So I was having problems with child support. I reached out to Carlos, and he was connected to where the child support lady contacted me, and she got everything right where I can get my license to keep my job. And therefore like, just because I had a job don't mean that I didn't want more. When she conquered the license, I knew for a fact that this was a powerful organization, because like any other time you used to getting turned down and everything else, but she helped me out and I got the license, and I wanted more than landscaping.
It is so important for, everybody to come together, because we had an issue with a father who who was about to get his license suspended, right? And he was talking to like the operator in a county, and the operator was just firm, just stern, like, no, you don't have all of the money, it's over,
And that's one of the things that I also enjoy is, being able to, when I'm inside, listening to what the issues are and then trying to get those issues resolved. Yes. So like in the instance of the young man who did get out, we do try to stress to the counties to work with individuals who are just releasing from incarceration, to give them time to get on their feet. So in his particular instance, you're right, he got an operator. They just looked at the nose and said, nope, this is what you got to pay to get your license back, and if you don't, suspend it in 24 hours. When really, we could have took that a step further. So I do appreciate the fact that he was diligent and pursued other options, as opposed to just taking that as the answer. And he was very articulate in expressing what his need was. So through him being able to talk to me and talk to you, to say, I have a job, this is where I'm going to be, what can you help me with? So I was thrilled. It was my pleasure to go ahead and make that phone call and say, hey, he was incarcerated for this amount of time, this is where he is, can we meet him in the middle somewhere? And the county was very they were willing to do that. And that's what we want. We don't want them to just knock on the door and accept that no. We want you to be persistent. We want you to make sure that you stay consistent too. Just because you get what you need, we need you to keep going through with it.
Keep on going.
Keep it moving, because you're going to open up the door for the next person.
Absolutely. And that's what he's actually done. So it's just exciting to see where he's at now. Just to be able, and that was critical in his development and his transition. Is for him not to get his license taken, and he's been able to, now he's at his job for a couple of years now, and got custody of his children too as well. So it's just powerful. So it's just that type of assistance is what it takes for us to get the results that we desire.
And in fatherhood, absolutely, we call that empowering him.
So that's all.
You're empowering him, and then with Tiffany coming in and engaging him, with the child support system, because there are other systems as well that we need to ensure that they feel comfortable with addressing any type of issue that they may have. But yes, when you empower dad, and again, that's my belief that it's what you do when you are in there, that you're changing the mindset, you're giving them that confidence and that value, because a lot of times our dads don't feel it, that they don't value themselves. And they don't feel that they have a value until we go in and tell them, well, without you, this is what's happening. And a lot of times they'll say, well, I didn't know I was that important. Well, yes, you are. And then you empower them, and then we have the systems that stand ready to help them once they feel empowered.
Okay, so right now what I'm doing is going up in here into Circleville Juvenile Correctional Facility. And this is powerful because this is the juvenile fathers, and what I'm doing here is the father factor.
So I teach the father factor, teach them how to establish a positive relationship with their children. And I believe that if we can get them to focus on some things that matter, you know, instead of focusing on all of the silly stuff, you know, the stuff that's not going to put them in a premier place, I believe that we'll have something. And that's what it's all about. I just get them to just change their focus from where they have been focusing on, because nobody has given them the information on what needs to be focused on. You know, people focus on all of the stuff that really that's really not that significant. And because, you know, we focus on things that's not that significant, we end up in bad situations. If I get them to focus on changing diapers and holding their babies and stuff like that, then they won't be holding pistols and throwing up gang signs. It's just a way. If I get them to focus on these things, then we can get it done. And we don't have to worry about all of the bodies and stuff dropping in the neighborhoods. A lot of times the people who committing the violence to other individuals in the neighborhood is the juveniles. Everybody that I usually talk to and work with inside of these juvenile facilities is all in here for gun cases. A lot of times it's about violence because they are fighting to protect who they have been told that they are, right? They've been told that this is what it is to be a gangster, you know? And I mean, and I know this because I've been told the same thing. I was told the same thing, and I believed in the same garbage.
It's a special program when we're in the institution. We get such a different feedback from these guys, and they're so appreciative of the programming based on their backgrounds. And you also know what we're doing in this setting is we're coming at it from just a straight parenting place, right? So it's non-judgmental. We're not there to worry about what's gone on in the past. Everybody that comes into the program in these settings, we're talking about what you're going to do moving forward to be a positive influence with your child, have a good relationship with your child. So, so you and I have been able to make that happen in lots of different places. We're not talking about perfection. We're talking about awareness and trying to educate ourselves and be a better parent, which is really the toughest thing any of us are going to try and do.
So I never actually been in the juvenile facility, so I didn't go to juvenile. I went straight to the big league. So it's crazy. So I mean, so I didn't never like understand. I never was inside of the juvenile facility, so it's just like a lot of things that they tell me. It's like, okay, wow, but you got a chance to turn it around before you get to the big league. So then, therefore, you don't have to do 10 years or 20 years and things like that if you can get the right information and change the game. And just imagine what they can do with other youth that's out there, because they have influence. And that's what I know, is they have influence, and people will listen to them too as well. So they can go back inside of their high schools. They get released from here. They go back into their high schools and say, man, look, that way of living ain't right. Because with the results, this is not results that we desire.
We began working with Carlos Christian in 2012 to learn and understand the needs of the dads who were in an incarcerated setting. We worked together to learn about those needs, understand what would be most helpful, and then began to take the Father Factor program out into the correctional facilities.
It's time to rock and roll. It's go time. It's go time. Let's get the kids. Let's get them something that they need to be able to go into the next level living.
Good brothers, man. How y'all doing today, man? All right, absolutely. So we done been peeling back a lot of layers with the Father Factor, how to establish a positive relationship with your child. Now, one thing that I want to ask y'all is what does a positive relationship look like, fellas? A relationship without barriers. Absolutely. A relationship without barriers, right? And why do we want to have a positive relationship with our children? Transfer information, right? Absolutely right. Because we want to have what with our children? Influence or control? Influence. Absolutely. Because control has gotten how? Through fear. Absolutely right. And if we seek to get control with our children, what will happen in the future? Like they want, can't just do what you're saying, like they want to come to you for help. Absolutely. Because what will happen with that fear?
very easy. You won't be able to transfer information.
No doubt, because the fear will wear off, right? At the end of the day, false evidence appearing real, right? So then that means that fear will wear off, right? So then that's why we want to make sure that we have influence. So when they are out there making their decisions, they are making decisions based on the influence that we have instilled in them, right? So now they are saying, I'm gonna make a decision like my dad would make a decision. We don't want them making decisions like who? Young Jeezy or... Absolutely, right? Absolutely. So we don't want them making decisions like businesses, because businesses' main objective is to do what? Get money, right? It's not to develop an actual individual. So we don't want to put the development of our children in the hands of a business, because a business's main objective is to make a profit. It's not designed to develop an individual. Well, they will develop them, but how will they develop them? They will develop them to be what?
What do they want them to be?
Consumers, right? They're not going to develop your child to become a producer. They will develop your child to become a consumer, because it benefits that business more. Ain't no doubt. If you ain't got to sit at the table, where are you at, fellas?
You're on the table.
You on the table. Absolutely right. That means that you are on the menu. That means that you are a menu item. That means that you are food. And we ain't food around here, man. We just ain't. We just move in a different direction. And that's why we get done what we get done.
So I needed something more stable in my life as far as my relationship with my children, a positive relationship. That first class, it was energetic. I mean, I immediately I just was taking all this information in. Just really bounced off of Carlos' energy, what he brought in, explaining his life story and his situation with his kids, and just really took it all to heart.
But this stuff takes work. You got to be willing to put in that work. Commit to your commitments. So, two brothers right here, right? Wasn't here the last, oh, you was at work, you didn't get called, right? But what we discussed, 1, 2, 3, 4, is that we want to start to write letters once a week to our child. Make that commitment, right? Make that commitment. Write a letter once a week to your child. And when you write that letter once a week to your child, what I am asking for you to do is take it to the case manager, have them scan it in to me so I can see the letter too as well. So now either you sending it to your child, if you don't have the address to send it to your child, or you don't have the envelopes, the stamps to send it to your child, I want you to put it inside of your dang old locker box. I want you to have it when you see your child at the end of your prison stint. I want you to be able to present them a letter that says that, a stack of letters to say, every week I made sure that I committed to writing you once a week. Fellas, this is major. This is major. Do you believe that that can be something that can establish a positive relationship?
So your child, like they talk to you when you do that, they gonna fight things like you forgot about them.
Most definitely.
Assume like they ain't gonna feel some type of way, like he ain't never forget about it, like he just had to send it to me.
Absolutely. So then that's how you can establish in their minds that you care about them, and you just made an error. It was just an error in your thinking, but it doesn't mean that it was a lack of care for them. See, because we can all talk it, right? But what really is challenging is when you start to walk it.
So yeah, I specialize in financial trauma. So what people do is when they have financial issues, significant financial issues, they contact me, and what I do is I resolve them. I began when I was in the Army. After Desert Storm, I got out of the Army because it was just so traumatic for me. And I got out, I moved back to Detroit, and I bought my first house when I was 23. And then because I got out and I wasn't all the way prepared, like a lot of soldiers aren't, when I got out, I basically became homeless with my wife and my son. And my wife didn't like it. Obviously, who would? And so I joined back into the Army. And I told myself, I'm not getting out of the Army again until I get everything squared away. So I moved back to a base and bought my second house when I was 24. and tax season comes around. And I rented out the house, the first house in Detroit, had the second house I lived in, and went to the library. This was before all the tax stuff was online. It was all at the library, all these tax books. So I go to the library, and I get all these tax books, and I'm reading them just to do my taxes, basically, just so I can do the taxes for this real estate property. And I'm like, whoa, people are getting really, really misinformed and misguided. If you don't understand taxes, you really don't understand anything about finances, nothing. The more I learned about taxes, the more I learned about insurance, investments, mortgages, real estate, credit, banking, insurance. I learned about all of it just from reading the tax manuals. The ones get provided by the IRS didn't cost me anything. I just read them. I learned all this stuff. And I said, I'm going to open a tax business, except I'm going to be licensed in everything so I can totally inform my clients. And I was 24 years old. I get deployed somewhere else, come back, and I buy my third house. I'm 27 years old. By then, I opened my tax business, and I'm still jumping out of airplanes, 82nd Airborne Division in the Army. And when I get out of the Army, I begin working for a major insurance company. And in that 1 year, I get my life, health, auto, home, long-term care, Medicare supplement, and Series 6 and 63 licenses. That was in 1 year. The next year, I get my accredited asset management specialist. It helps me as a credential for designing portfolios. The next year, I get my stockbroker's exam and my registered investment advisor license. So I have licensed stockbroker, licensed RIA. And then from there, I get my bachelor's in finance. And when I go to school for my bachelor's in finance, I realize that everything that they're teaching is contrary to human nature. It's not really authentic. It's not really real. So I started researching. As a licensed minister, I started researching the Bible and psychology and philosophy and trying to identify why is it that they're teaching these things when they're not true. These things are true. And in that, I ended up producing and authoring and publishing a book. My book is called Biblical Principles to Prosperity. And inside of it are the 7 principles that really lead to human prosperity, not monetary, not material, not financial, just what's inside of you, you're looking for fulfillment. From there, I got my master's in accounting, I have my certified fraud examiner, and I'm currently working on my PhD in psychology. And the reason why I worked on that is because when I started my PhD in finance, I realized that I really didn't need it. There's nothing else that it can, wasn't helpful to me. And I visited and counseled over 4,000 people, 400 business owners, and I really, really wanted to identify them and help them identify why they do what they do with their money. And that's why I've been working on this degree in PhD in psychology, because you'd be very interested and very surprised to know that you're not a who as much as you're a what. And you're a product of what you've learned and what you've been exposed to. And so your who doesn't develop until after you identify yourself, which is very challenging and very difficult to do in an environment that is always trying to make you a part of the mass, part of the masses, you see. So that's what I do. I specialize in financial trauma. I specialize in counseling. I specialize in basically bringing you to be exactly who you really are unto yourself. That's what I do. And I met Carlos at that stage where I was still developing that skill. And we've been partnering ever since.
So yeah, I'm here at Franklin County Child Support Enforcement Agency, and I got a graduate that's coming to meet me here. And we are going to, I got a couple of things that I got to do. I want to introduce the graduate to the director to have him speak at the actual courthouse for the fathers that say that they would rather go ahead and pay child support. They would rather go to jail than to pay child support. So that's something that I usually do, but he's just such a good speaker. I want to introduce him to the actual director who's over that Compass program. So then he should be here. He just called me and said that he's here. Hello, D, where you at? Okay, you in the parking lot? What's going on, good brother?
Good brother.
Man, how you feeling,
How you
man?
doing, man? You all right, man?
Man, absolutely, man.
Glad to see you,
man. Good to see you too, man. Everything going okay?
Man, is it going okay? The program made it go okay.
Man, ain't no doubt, man. Most definitely.
About that.
Most definitely,
No
man.
doubt,
Most
no
definitely. So what we about to do today is, man, like we already discussed, I want you to come on. Let's walk. I want you to come on, son. I got my son here. He's my intern. You know, so but what I want to do is I want to introduce you to Susan so you can start to speak in the Compass program. You know, for the fathers that say that they would rather go to jail than to actually, you know, pay child support. So it's a program that they do that I usually speak for. I want you to go ahead and speak for it too as well. All right. Okay.
My name is Dion Parker, and I'm here today to let you all know my story. I'm not going to give you the whole full story, but I'm going to give you just enough so you can understand my plight and where I come from. I just recently served 5 years in prison for some fraudulent activities and what they consider to be white collar, and I had a little bit of drug involvement as well. And when I went to prison, you know, I was still stuck in that same mindset that when I get out, I'm gonna do the same thing. And it wasn't until a program that starts within organization brought in the Walking Logo program that it started to really alter my train of thought. See, up until that time, I was still busy doing the same thing. I still didn't see the value that I had in myself. So because I wasn't around people, or I didn't take a program that had value or a purpose, I didn't see that I had value and purpose to pursue.
Hey, how you doing, sir? Hey, I'm doing okay. That young lady will take you right there. Okay, thank you. Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Doing okay. I'm here for Susan Brown.
Okay.
All right, how was your holiday?
Good.
Good.
Yours?
Oh, it was fantastic. You know, I got a hoverboard. Well, my son got a hoverboard, but I'm treating it like it's mine.
Uh-oh.
I put him to bed early so I can drive, so I can ride it. I said, hey, son, it's time for you to go to bed.
Go ahead and sign in right there with your name and the time, and I'll let her know that you're here.
Okay. I said, I need to get my ride time in. Anytime you up, you ride a hoverboard. So, the bedtime is 7 o'clock now.
Hi, Susan. Carlos is here to see you.
You fail yet?
Yes, he fell. He fell like 3 times.
All right, she's on her way down.
Okay,
Yeah,
sounds
you can
good.
just have a seat.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
He fell into a box.
I felt it was crazy, man. It was crazy, man. But yeah, just exciting to be able to, like I said, just to experience that, man. It's just a beautiful thing, man. That's what it's all about. You know, that's what it's all about. Oh, there she goes right there. Hey,
Carlos, so great to see you.
Good to see you as well. All right, this is my guy, Dion. You remember him from the graduation.
All right, how are you? Good to see you, Dion.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I think the last time I saw him, it made me cry.
Yeah, you remember?
He was so inspirational.
Absolutely, yes. So
Yep.
I want to just discuss about getting him in the Compass program and being a speaker for the Compass program. You know,
Awesome.
just
Yeah.
powerful.
Yeah.
So he's a good resource, and I just want to make the connection with him and Judge Jameson.
Okay.
I think it'll be beautiful.
Okay.
This is my son. He's baby Bubba. This is the guy that that does all of the work in the house, man. So that's what it is.
Well, good to see you again. All right, well, let's go upstairs.
Let's make it happen. Did you get a chance to read the book?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
It's fantastic.
Yes. Yeah.
It's so difficult to be what you cannot see. It really is. If you're not used to seeing success, then therefore you will never think you are a success. But I said, man, if this brother can do it, certainly I can too. He makes me realize that I'm not limited by my environment. I'm not limited by the color of my skin, nor am I limited by the events of my past. I recognized through that program that I was only limited by the size of my hope. See, when I started developing that hope and I put it with some faith, I began to establish my value and I began to establish my purpose.
One of the same ones you held a long time
Yeah,
ago.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Going up.
So yeah, just exciting times. I'm just excited to where we can go with it now.
You know, the value that we find in the partnership with the Starts Within program and your partnership is that you really help parents see the program in a different light.
Yes.
It's a completely different paradigm. It's a completely different perspective. No matter where you come in, to Franklin County, whether it's through Job and Family Services or child support, it's sort of an entryway to a lot of other services. But
Yes.
The first step is to build that trust.
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
Because
right.
that's how you can get to where you want to be at, as far as the goal getting accomplished, just through
Right.
trust,
Right.
And that's what it's all about. That's
Right.
what it's all about.
Right.
Exciting time.
Communication, information,
Yep.
trust.
Yep.
Right.
Yep,
Right.
absolutely.
And
It
then,
can
and then our commitment then, if a father is engaged, is to make sure that they understand the process, that their voice is heard, that we're being neutral, that we're being fair.
Yes.
That we provide the information. So it's a much better relationship.
Yes, absolutely. I totally agree.
It's so important because so many dads, they'll get that letter from child support and they'll either throw it away or ignore it and not show up to the hearing.
Yes.
But as long as there's good service, which means as long as a father received that letter, we could still go ahead with the hearing. So instead of having the information directly from the father, we now have to make assumptions about a person that we don't know.
Absolutely.
So the likelihood that we're going to get that order wrong is very high, because we're going to use the information that we have, through our databases and things like that. But if there's no information out there, we're just going to assume you can make minimum wage.
Yes.
And we're going to establish an order based on minimum wage at 40 hours a week.
Yes.
Perhaps 35. But you get what I'm saying.
Yes, absolutely.
That someone who's participating in the process has much more control over
On
the
how it
outcome
turns out. Yes,
than someone who doesn't participate.
Yes.
Instead of a domino effect in a negative way going down a hill,
Yes.
Carlos has now figured out how to create the domino effect,
Going
up.
upward. Yep, going up. Yep, absolutely.
And
absolutely.
the connections that he makes, the relationships that he builds. I mean, there's not anything out there as far as resources that Carlos doesn't have, because he's created so many connections, and you can do the same, and you can teach other people to do the same. I mean, it's now if Carlos has a child support issue, or if Carlos's father has a child support issue, he calls the director.
Yeah.
And he comes over and we have lunch, and
Absolutely.
and we fix things.
Yes.
And we shed a new light on a bad
Absolutely.
situation. And
Absolutely.
And I think what you said was exactly right. I mean, he basically takes the veil off, of your eyes, so you can really see the potential that you have. And it's very powerful. And I totally remember, your testimonial at graduation. I bawled like a baby, because it was so powerful.
Because he changed my mindset about the child support agency, because you think that the child support agency is so biased.
Yeah.
You think that they're so unilateral, and just for the women. And of course I get it for the child, but
Right.
you just think like, wow, why are they so against me? Why are they
Yeah.
making me pay this and pay that? And
Right.
so now I'm at this state to where I owe so much, I don't even want to go around.
Right.
I don't even want to go around them, but
Right.
I didn't understand that.
But if you
until it
did
came
go
in.
around them,
Yeah,
look at the opportunities
Exactly.
that
Yeah,
you
exactly.
have,
Exactly.
to manage that debt.
Exactly.
And
Exactly. But that's the message
whether
that needs
it's
to be
whether it's owed to
promulgated.
the other
Mhm.
parent or whether it's owed to the state, if you're participating in these programs, you have an opportunity to get some of that compromised or waived. If you participate with the program, you can have your child support order reviewed, to make sure that it's right sized, that it actually reflects your actual income, and not income that might have been imputed to you because maybe you didn't participate. And for us, it is all about the emotional support and the financial support. It's not just collections. the emotional support, because the more engaged you are with your child, the more likely you're going to pick up your responsibilities as a parent, and so it's for us, it's sort of a good business decision, to invest in fathers.
Wow.
We have these cases for 18 years.
Yes.
You can suspend driver's licenses and seize bank accounts or whatever, all these punitive things all day long, but that's not going to change the behavior. That's not going to change, the habits that you might be engaging in right now. But if we can help invest in parents, through, connections to services, through counseling, or just being an understanding ear.
Yes.
It's a totally different dynamic. It changes the game.
That's what it's all about, is solution oriented. We just want to, focus on how do we solve a problem. That's what a problem should be. It should be solved.
It should be solved.
It should be solved. It shouldn't be just
talked about,
talked about or glorified.
No,
and this is what Starts Within is all about, is saying that
Solutions.
we want to address the solution. We want to make sure that we come up with the solution. 90% should be talked about the solution.
The solution.
We should be spending time on the solution, and that's what it's about. So when the organization is developing the Walking Logo program, is solution oriented. It's saying that I want you to be able to pull your credit report while you are incarcerated.
Yes.
I want you to dispute what's on your credit report
Yes.
while you are incarcerated.
Yes.
Because we want you to, start to change the way that you think, right? The way that we change the way that you think is that we say we believe that time is the most valuable asset. So we want you to be in the mindset that I'm utilizing my time while I'm incarcerated. I'm not going to squander my time. The same 24 hours that I have is the same 24 hours that the President of the United States has.
Yes.
So what am I doing with my time? Time is valuable. If you ask, what's the brother that passed away? Steve Jobs.
Yes.
If you ask Steve Jobs, would he trade his time for, would he trade all of his assets? Will he trade his billion-dollar companies and things like that for a person who's incarcerated inside of the prison? He would say, heck yeah, because that means that he would be alive, right? So then time is just that valuable.
Yes, that valuable.
It's given. It's not earned. That means that you can't earn time.
You can't earn it. You can't stock it.
You can't stock it. So then this is what the Starts Within organization backs. It backs that mentality that says that, we are utilizing our time because we want to get to a different space in life. And it's the decision. The decision has to be made on, we have to make that decision.
What is it you say? You say before change can be formed outside, it has to be formed inside.
Man. Before change can be seen externally, change must be done internally.
And basically what you're talking about is a change of paradigm.
Yes.
The paradigm in the individual must be changed. And the way to do that is by providing them different information, different resources, different communicational relationships, all these things have to be formed differently and provided. Otherwise, they're just going to go back into going back to being the product of this limited negative environment.
Yes, absolutely. And they're going to rely on the information that they always have relied on, and because that's the information that they know and they trust, and even if it gets them the hell that they don't desire.
I was just telling people, you ain't got the right to complain. Like, you ain't got the right to complain because you're not doing anything to resolve your situation. Like, you got to do things to resolve your situation. If you ain't doing something to resolve your situation, shut the hell up. Man, just shut up, man, and accept it, love it, become one with it. It's yours. I mean, that's what you choose, and you choosing it with your behavior. Like, that's the biggest thing that people get caught up in, is that they never break up out of that, how much power that they have. They don't understand. They put the power in everybody else's hands. They put the power in the system's hands. They put the power in everybody else's hands. But it's like, who you are, man, it can turn everything around if you choose to. If you choose to. But you gotta choose to.
So right now we are coming up here in the red carpet. Right now we are going into the studio where my brother is in here doing the studio work. Teasy, what's going on?
Oh, it's cold.
Heck
Come
yeah,
on,
man.
what's up? How you doing?
It feel like Cleveland out here.
The stuff in your program was like necessary.
Yes.
In
yes.
order to survive on the outside. You know?
Yes.
Without that stuff, you're not gonna be a productive citizen. It's just not gonna happen.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. So just like the skills, and I remember Daryl, one of the brothers was talking about connection power. You know,
the Daryl,
the good brother Daryl, right? Heck yeah, man. Just using those type of skills when you come home has been very beneficial.
For sure.
Most definitely.
For sure. Connection power is key because, that network is everything. A lot of times we tend to try to do things on our own and end up in a bad situation. Wow. Because if you don't ask for help, you might need it, don't know you need it, and be in a bad position. Or you might need it and be too prideful to, reach out. So with the connections, like I reached out to you for a job.
Yes.
You sent me to partner, Charles Bradford.
Yes.
Charles Bradford sent me to Legacy Staff, and I got a job. You know, that four-way, three-way connection was needed at that moment.
Yes, absolutely.
Fresh out of prison, no problem. Employment on the spot.
Wow. So employment wasn't difficult for you to obtain, is what you're telling me.
Employment is not difficult for anybody to obtain. People just don't have the work ethic needed or the focus needed. It's employers everywhere out here. They hiring left and right.
Wow.
Guys just don't got it. They don't really want. If you want it, you're going to go get it.
Yes,
and it's out here to get,
Absolutely.
I'm living proof of it.
Absolutely.
Everything I said I was going to do, I came out and did.
Yes.
Because I'm focused. This is what I said I was going to do. It's that simple for me. Some guys want everything handed to them. So they going to sit back and say, I need a job. They fill out one application, get denied. Ain't no jobs out here. My dude, I just seen a whole list of people that hire felons.
Absolutely.
And now, granted, it's not the best paying jobs, but it's a stepping stone to what you want to do.
Yes.
Like right now, I'm doing what I want to do.
Wow.
My music.
Wow.
So I don't need a career somewhere, I'm gonna make my own.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm gonna be an entrepreneur,
Absolutely.
But that little job is the stepping stone. It's a million factories, a million everything, and it's good jobs for us too,
Absolutely. Most definitely. You ain't gotta be great to get started, but you gotta get started to be great, right? Like, so then that's what it is, man.
Yeah. Maybe everybody losing wins low, lower story, more glory, but that's just it that made me. Everybody broke their ends low, a whole story that just make it more glory, but that's just it that paid me. They said I wouldn't make it past 21. They said I wouldn't make it past 21. They said I wouldn't make it past 21. Bitch, I'm from Cleveland, man. They was down 3-1.
What was about the Walking Logo program or my presentation, who I was, made you say, man, I'm willing to commit to this program?
Well, first off, I already knew you from previous programs, so I already knew what you're thinking. I'm like, any program you got, I'll sign me up for it. So I'm like, remember they put restrictions on it.
Yeah.
I had too much time. TZ had too much time. So we fighting, we was showing we was down there, and then you finally got them to let them accept us.
Yes.
But it was just your whole aura. You did the time. You was doing what you was saying. By coming back into the prison period, it just showed what kind of person you are.
Yeah.
Because I know, like, most people get out, if they be successful or unsuccessful, they don't share their stories, and that's the problem. People just be in prison and they sit there, and the only thing they see is other people who in there. They don't see success.
Wow.
So it's like a real benefit to see somebody who actually walk the walk and talk the talk come back into the prisons.
Most definitely. And that was heavy duty. And I remember too, y'all was outside of the criteria, but I had made up the criteria. Mm-hmm. So it was just like, but who you were and who your brothers were, I say, man, I gotta go outside of the criteria and let these brothers in, so then that's why y'all brothers was able to get into the program, and so with that being said, how important do you think that it is to invest into yourself while you are incarcerated, preparation wise?
I mean, it's a difference between life and death on the outside, really.
Wow.
And I say that because I still invest in myself to this day. Like,
yes.
Most of my money go back into myself from my business. I started a successful business when I got out of prison. But that was the difference in prison. And like my brother Teasy was saying, we got into arguments with guys because they see us reading all the time. and they see us learning and going to different programs. But the thing is, they thought that we was just being pretentious, that we was being know-it-alls or whatever. But we like, man, I hate prison, man. I don't want to come back in here. I want to learn everything I can do to get up out of here. Y'all cool doing what y'all want to do. Wasting time is not in my vocabulary. Yeah. So I value time, and I really value it on the other side.
When I was incarcerated, I really got blessed by a gentleman by the name of Mr. Conte. He was the warden of the prison. And when I got with Mr. Conte brought me to central office, and he didn't know it, but he was planting a seed that would basically help me to change the entire direction of my life. Mr. Conte has set me down and told me about his perspective on what it was that I went through, but he also kept telling me that it's not over. I had a 7.5-year sentence. And in the process of doing that, he told me that, Maurice, this is just a stop. And he was like, I'm from Sierra Leone. And when guys used to get in trouble in Sierra Leone, we would bring these guys closer to the village, figure out what's going wrong, and then basically repair these guys and send them back out to the streets. He said, in America, when guys get arrested, you all seem to throw guys away. And so he said, while you're here at Toledo, I'm going to give you every opportunity to better yourself. And in the process of being incarcerated, I essentially went to a bunch of psychosocial and emotional supportive courses that they had offered, things like Thinking for a Change, Responsible Adult Culture, anger management courses, family planning courses, and things of that nature. And when those things started to open me up and I started to really engage and open up my mind and engage with other inmates in the institution, I just felt like it was something different that was taking place. You create mental health issues for yourself when you're in prison. Because by the time I get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, I got to be serious about what I'm doing. I got to come out the cell and be serious whether I like it or not. I got to come out the cell and be on heightened alarm whether I like it or not, because something could take place.
Yes.
It ain't even got nothing to do with me, but just something's taking place, and just my disposition has to be serious. In society, that just doesn't transfer. Like, you're not that hard all day. In order for you to get this documentary put together, like, hey, how you doing? What's going on? You laughing, you joking, you socializing. You're doing all this stuff to let people know I'm a human being. This was something that took place, but I'm a human being. But in prison, we walking down the halls, we can't look at each other. I'm segregating myself with my city versus your city. And there's so many things just within the context of prison that create so many bad things that don't transfer.
Bad habits. Yeah, bad habits that don't transfer
They
out
don't
here.
transfer.
Most definitely.
So if I can sit with you in your program and you understand this environment, you understand the context, you understand the dynamics of prison, but then you can also explain, like, hey, brother, I get why you're like that in here, but that don't transfer out here, my brother.
Yeah.
No, it don't transfer. So when you're trying to sell yourself, when you're trying to communicate to people, when you're trying to interact with others, when you're trying to convince some male, some woman to do business with you, like, you need to be soft, super soft, like super soft. But if every day, like they say, your habits create your future, nothing else. Whatever you habitually do, you will habitually become. But if I'm this tough guy all day, all night, what you think gonna transfer?
Your life gonna be hard, man.
Your life is gonna be hard.
You be hard, your life gonna be hard,
but
right?
Even the things we speak of ourselves. Think about this, right? So I gotta call myself a real brother all the time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So every time I call myself a real brother, I don't want to say the word, but you get where I'm coming from. Now I have to justify this position.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Most
every circumstance, I gotta prove
that I'm this.
That I'm this.
I'm this.
That holds no value.
Absolutely.
Right? Holds value in prison.
Yeah.
Holds value
in the streets.
In your neighborhood, in your streets.
In the streets.
But in corporate America, they like, man, get this dude away from me.
Absolutely. Absolutely right. And that's the reality of it, man. So if you start to look, and that's what I always tell people, like, if you embrace an outlaw mentality, you're going to get the benefits of an outlaw mentality, 100%. Which is prison, shot up in the hospital bed somewhere. Yes. This is what you're going to get. Yes, and separated from your children, somebody else to raise your children, and then they'll get that too, because they don't have nobody to guide them. But if you embrace a civilian mentality, you get these civilian benefits, man.
Here we go. So to even describe what is a civilian,
absolutely.
But these are the things.
Absolutely.
Think about this. So you have to go back further. So a lot of these guys, including myself, we come up in hoods.
No doubt.
Right?
No doubt.
So the idea of being a civilian is never given.
It's not even an option, right?
Because it's straight survival.
No doubt.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely right.
And then
absolutely
if you look at the nature of guys' crimes and look at what they're doing, these not like bad dudes.
No doubt.
The circumstances, whether somebody got shot, because so people shooting each other is the way people solve problems.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
becomes the standard.
That's just the standard, right? That's the standard.
Because the environment don't call for nothing else. You know
No
what I'm saying?
doubt, man.
Because if we go
No
to
doubt,
a
man.
basketball court in a suburban America, you take the same kid and he get into it, a guy on the court, he's not about to take a gun and shoot him.
Ain't no doubt.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely
Because that
right.
environment doesn't call for it.
Absolutely right.
And so having guys understand that these environments that you're in, and understanding once you get into those environments have standards of behavior.
Most definitely.
And
Most definitely.
Can I identify what this environment calls for?
Yes.
So when I say it starts within, can I identify where we going, what this calls for, how I need to behave, how I need to act? And I'm not selling out or being indifferent. I'm evolving.
It's the evolution.
It's the evolution.
It's the evolution, no doubt.
We can't be knuckleheads forever.
No doubt. Ain't no doubt, man. Ain't no doubt, man. Ain't no doubt. And that's what one of the graduates, he says, Carlos, man, he says, man, I didn't change. He says, I actually evolved. Yes. He says, when you change, you'll take off your coat and you'll put on another coat and you say, I don't really like the way this look. And you'll put back on that old coat again that you took off. But he says, when you evolve, you cannot fit back into that again. So that was crazy. I said, wow. So it's almost like saying, I didn't evolve from that way of thinking. I can't go back to that way of thinking again. There's no way that I can put that on. It doesn't fit. It's just like trying to put on a onesie. You know, like a onesie ain't gonna fit. You'll be like, man, I can't get this thing on. So when we evolve, that's what it's about. So when I'm talking about the way that I used to be and the way that I am now, it's just that I have evolved. You know, it's just the evolution of Carlos.
We need to have community folks reach into our prisons with meaningful, evidence-based work and just honest caring.
Yes, absolutely.
And they need to be the same people that are with our folks when they're released.
Yes,
reach
absolutely.
in and pull out.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? And I know you understand that so well and what you're doing with that consistency and what others are doing, but that's what we need to do. And I've got to tell you, the people think I'm nuts, and I'm okay with that. If we're serious about changing lives, and we look at the role of mentoring, all 49,584 folks that we have incarcerated in Ohio's prisons today should have someone on the outside that's a mentor.
Yes,
that's
absolutely.
a guide that will stand up and say, hey, you're wrong when they need to.
Yes, accountability.
And then also talk and push people to think about their future.
Yes.
One-on-one. And people say that's impossible. Well, maybe it is, but it's not going to happen if we don't try.
Yes.
And I've got to suggest to you that I think that is the most important path forward. And if I could wave a magic wand anywhere, would say that we would have enough pro-social, committed Ohioans in the community. We got 11 million Ohioans.
Yeah, I know.
You think 11 million Ohioans? We ought to be able to 49,000. We can do that.
We should be able to, absolutely.
And then, by the way, if we could release get some of the people not coming to prison, reduce that down, we got a better chance of that too.
Because
our numbers are
turn them
better.
into some of the mentors.
Our numbers are better. Get released as well. So, I think that needs to happen. I think that's a value of your program.
Yes, absolutely.
I think it's a value of programs that we have seen work in Ohio, where people reach in and they know and they build a relationship before they leave prison, and they know they can trust that person.
That's everything.
And when they come out, they will listen. I think.
Yes.
I think.
Yes.
So
you dead on.
Yeah.
You're dead on.
So I think, and I know Mike Davis, who does a great job for us, who's in charge of reentry. Mike and I have talked about that a lot, and I think that is an aspirational goal that we ought to have to expand mentorship. And I think what we need to do is let's start tough. Let's go to those facilities that have high rates of recidivism.
Yes,
and let's
absolutely.
work and target folks that have a tougher time coming out of prison.
I totally agree.
People would like to hear this. I believe that for us to be effective, society in Ohio and across our country need to understand that the folks in the criminal justice system are human beings, just like us.
Yes.
And you know, I've talked about this a lot. I was headed to prison at 16 and 17. I lost my mom. I was a school truant. I was doing things that would have led me to prison, no question. But I had three people in my life lift me up. One, my mom, before she passed away, that took me across the road and played baseball every day, my mom. I lost her. I didn't have brothers or sisters and didn't have any relationship with my father. But when she died at 16, I was a pretty darn good baseball player.
Yes.
And I lost mom, I lost my way. But my high school baseball coach, now think about the divine intervention. Had my mom not taken me across that road every day growing up, I would not have had a relationship with my baseball coach who shook me and says, Gary, you're better than this.
Get it together.
He drove me to the Ohio State University to enroll.
Wow.
And then my wife, and I've been married 45 and a half years. I had three people in my life lift me up at a critical time that I could have gone either way. And there's not been a day in 43 and a half years of work in this business that I've not thought about where I was headed. Not one day. Now, I say that, I think I'm a human being. Now, I think in the minds of others, had I made it to prison, people that act, quite frankly, people in this state that make a difference, that are making laws, that are elected to offices, when they hold a position and do not believe that people that are in the criminal justice system deserve the same rights as any human being.
Yes.
When that happens, we're in trouble.
Yes.
And when people that elect people believe, well, those people have got those numbers on their shirts.
Yes.
They don't. We got to separate ourselves. We're better than them somehow. Well, as long as that exists, everything I've talked about in this session is at risk and is in jeopardy of never happening. It is an attitude. It is a belief. I believe our society is a pretty unforgiving society.
Yes.
And I think that we need some forgiveness.
Education has always been your way out of poverty. If you can't read, you can't leave.
Yes, yes, absolutely,
so
absolutely.
Education is how poverty was broken in the 60s.
Yes.
That's in the 50s, and that's why Thurgood Marshall and the NAACP and the organizations fought so hard for equality in education because they understood that education opened the door to all other opportunities. Because an uneducated person cannot go where an educated person can go.
The importance of bringing in personal finances to ladies and gentlemen who are in the prison system is because when they get out, they need to know how to budget. They need to know about savings. They need to know about investing in their money. They also need to know how to calculate how to get a mortgage, how to look for a nice rental, how to buy a car. All those things are important. They need to also know how to have debt reduction. They need to know how to read and look at their credit report. They've never had that information coming into the prison. And then to come out of the prison system with that wealth of information makes their life 100% better.
Be excited, be encouraged. If you lost a loved one last year, I'm just saying be encouraged because we are doing what needs to be done to be able to change the game. So I'm just letting Facebook out there know. I'm letting y'all know because I keep y'all in tune with the movement because why? Because I care, right? And I want y'all to go out there and have a smile on y'all's face because the good work is being done. We making it happen. Starts within organization. Before change can be seen externally, y'all already know what it is. Change must be done internally.
The decision is being made. And he looked at me, he said, no, because I don't want nobody raising my kid. I say, well, that's what's going to happen. Like when you're going out there to 5 people to gun down, like, you leaving it open for other people to get it done. You know?
I am a walking logo that will learn how to soar to great heights in my life for the betterment of myself, family, and those who are following me. I am an individual of character, commitment, and courage. I am an individual of integrity, intellect, and influence. I am an individual of discipline, determination, and dedication. I am an individual of faith, focus, and fortitude. I am the designer of my own destiny. I challenge myself and others to be great. I am successful in everything I do. I am walking in love. I am a magnet for success. I don't mistreat people. I am my own walking life story. My life is governed by love, respect, and loyalty. I am a walking logo. Not everyone has a right to speak into my life, and I will associate with family and friends that are ambassadors of truth and divine love. I am built to succeed. I am the walking logo. Yeah! That's what I'm talking about, ladies. We rocking and rolling. We getting it in another week, and it's just been powerful. Ladies, just to let you know, in case you didn't know, this is the 33rd week that you have committed to your commitment. I'm telling you, that is heavy duty. That is heavy duty. That is heavy duty. Like, this is what it's all about, and you are establishing the character that needs to be established to be successful. This is how you overcome the penitentiary. This is how you make yourself look valued to the society that is out there that views you, because you have characteristics that people are attracted to. Like, when you say that you are going to do something, you do it. You mean what you say, and you say what you mean, and that's what it's all about. I am definitely proud of y'all, and just the commitment, and just seeing y'all's faces every single week. Last week I couldn't get in here because my car, it went out, and I'm telling you, it was something serious. I'm dead serious, right? Like I'm telling you, it was crazy, man. But they had me in a little it was a little Mirage, a Mitsubishi. Is it Mitsubishi? I gotta pronounce it right, because I'm calling the rental places like, y'all got me in this Mitsubishi? And they say, they like, what? Like, I'm in this Mitsubishi, I can't even turn around. Like, I can't turn left or right. Like, but they had me in the Mitsubishi, right? And I left my contractor badge, and it was way over there on the north side. So I was like, it's too late. When I found out, I just had to call George, tell George to handle it. And of course, I know he came through and handled his business, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely right. So I apologize for me not making it here last week. It was for a good cause. It was just that I couldn't make it, you know? So, it's crazy, but y'all know that is very important for me, is to make sure that I commit to my commitment, and making sure that I show my face here every week, just to let y'all know that I'm going through the class right along with you, you know? So this is my fourth year-long class that I have taken, and it's just been powerful. And I appreciate it. And I'm telling y'all right now, this is one of the best classes that I have had since we have started to Start Within. Just what we have been able to get accomplished. Y'all got both books, right? Y'all got stuff. Good stuff. Been able to get y'all's credit reports pulled. Everybody got their credit reports pulled. That is powerful. Chandrita, she is working on your credit report right now, and working on, I'm telling you, get some of that stuff off there that should not be on there. So she is working on y'all's individuals' credit reports and making sure that she types up the letters that she needs to type up.
Starts Within organization, to me, it's basically a chance for me to start over. I'm able to look deep within myself, and with each section that we have been involved in with the class, I've been able to learn a little bit more about myself. We started off with the parenting piece that Carlos taught, and to have an ex-felon who's also a man to come back into a woman's facility and teach us how to parent while we're incarcerated, it just speaks volumes to me. And so I've been able to really look at myself and say, I don't have to be ashamed of being a felon. I don't have to be ashamed of being incarcerated, and that there are individuals like me who do get out and get a second chance, and they do the right thing. And so moving throughout this class, I just continue to find the strength to be able to endure, and to know that when I go home, it's going to be a struggle, but I know that I can do it. As far as Carlos's character, Carlos is an amazing individual, and just the fact that he left prison and didn't forget what prison does to individuals mentally and emotionally and spiritually. The fact that he takes his time out every week to come and to meet with us, and that he's able to find people who are in the community who don't look at us as felons or inmates, and that they're willing to teach us things that they have learned. It has been an amazing journey. And so with the Starts Within organization, I really encourage everyone to take a chance to listen to the message that Carlos is out there speaking on our behalf, and to just not view us as a menace to society, but view us as individuals who have made a mistake, and now we're taking this chance to basically reinvent and to start all over again.
Being separated from my family, being incarcerated, is probably the toughest thing that's ever happened in my life. And what I learned from Carlos was that the communication with my children is about the only thing I have control over here while being incarcerated, and who I choose to spend my time with. And it's been more powerful probably than anything I've ever done in my life, is learning how to communicate with my children and the importance of being in the driver's seat of their lives. This parenting piece is probably let me just give you an example. I probably haven't talked to my 18-year-old son for more than 15 minutes in one span for a long time. And through this program, what I've learned from Carlos is how to communicate and keep that conversation going. And it's been life-changing for me and my kids and family.
When you first come into the prison system, they had asked me at Marion Technical, would you mind teaching in the prison? I had no idea what it's like. But it is amazing the quality and the intent of the students that are here to improve and better their lives. And that's a very important part to me, is that when people get out of here, I truly believe, one, they will pay attention to their children, they're going to have better financial aspects, and they're going to be able to start a business of their own to help them get through life. And the whole program that has been done at various institutions that we've worked at together, Carlos and I'm just very impressed with the quality of the students, and certainly think it ought to continue. It's amazing and quite different than most people would expect. And what's the advantage that you see in the business you're starting? What are you going to do better than the competition? And who's going to be involved? Some of you, it's only you, but others have a partner that they're going to have, whether you're married or whether it's another person who's going to do it. And then you've looked at where will the finances come from. So while this is the first page in the plan, it's the last page you put together, because you've got to have all the other information and research that you've got 4 more weeks to finish up. And that's what this page is.
The ego was one of the pieces that we brought into the CBT model, cognitive behavioral therapy. And the thing about the ego, the most powerful thing I learned about the ego, is that a lot of men don't realize that's part of the problem. That's why we're here, because of our ego. Our ego is that thing that kind of talks for us. It makes a decision for me whether I'm thinking about it or not. It's based on emotions. It's based on me reacting to someone else. The ego is something that every man has, he carries with him, and it usually arises when you're caught in a situation that you're uncomfortable with, something that is not correct, okay, and you know in your heart that it's not, but the ego says go ahead anyway because this is what men do, you know, and this is okay. You know, and I think a lot of times when we talk about that, a light comes on and they understand that, oh, okay, that's about my decision making. That's about that split decision that I made and whether I went left or right, you know, and that kind of drives the ego. You know, whatever's going on at that particular time, it's about the decision. Everything's about decision, whether I'm going to go left or go right, you know, and that's going to make the difference between night and day. And a lot of times, that is what brought me here, that bad decision. 99% of the time, that's what brought me here, that bad decision. So, which was driven by my ego.
I'm doing second-degree murder sentence. I am in the 25th year of my incarceration on a 15 to life. I like to be as transparent as possible, and so is this program. Starts Within program helps us to transition successfully back into society, not just to do it individually, but to do it as a group of women. I'm in this program with some of my tapestry sisters, some of my sisters here at this facility that I barely talk to. And now we're a very close-knit group of women who have gone through parenting, we've gone through finance, we've gone through so many different subjects. Right now we're working on business plans for our own potential careers in the future to be entrepreneurs. When you ask what is transitioning back into society for ex-offenders, we are the epitome of that. We are women who are going back to take our streets back one at a time, to make our children successful because we've gone through things that can help them to avoid all the pitfalls that we've gone through. I stand before you as a woman who will be an ex-offender right now. When I come back into society, I will be a successful member of my society, paying taxes just like you.
One of the most important things I've learned from Carlos is the fact that I could re-enter into society and be a strong woman who can make it. I don't have to be part of the 43% of people who come back to prison. I can be successful, and I can be strong, and I can be independent, and I don't ever have to end up in a place like this ever again.
Since meeting Carlos, I was able to establish different relationships and build positive relationships with other people. I went from being incarcerated to working in the prison. I got that job through Carlos and through the relationships that he had. Now I have the opportunity to go inside the prison and work with women, and they are allowed, they can see me, and it gives them hope. Now they know that they can change. Now they know that they don't got to keep repeating the cycle because they see somebody who was incarcerated now working inside the correctional facility. That's just powerful. You know, it gives people hope. And not only that, you got the Prison Without Bars books inside of there. So now I can work with the ladies and do, have them do reports, you know, allowing them to see the other side before they get released. So now they working on themselves before they get released. That all within itself is just powerful.
This program meets a particular need. There are lots of people, as you were saying before, that are in 1 to 3 or something.
Yeah.
Thousands of those that shouldn't be there but are. I think that there's a difference in terms of some of those will go out and obviously not recidivate and go on and do good things.
Yes.
But to grab them like you do on something that's usually more than about 4 years, maybe 4 to 20 or whatever, and work with them for a whole year, is producing something that's going to be very valued.
Yeah.
People that are in and out or back in and back out, they're going to have a bit more of a problem. We need to work with them, heaven knows. But the service that's provided by SWO is creating a product that, as I say, is going to be desirable.
Yes.
You take the statistics and that you hear in the media and you really push all that aside and you come face to face with individuals. And one of the things I had learned from hiring people from the Restoration Academy, people that had felonies, was that they turned out to be absolutely excellent employees. A very high percentage of the people that I've hired previously from the institutions, people that have felony backgrounds, they have something to prove in a positive way. Probably the best way I can describe it is there's a tremendous loyalty that you attain from them. When you give respect, you get respect. And it's a great combination, I think, both as a business and a business team, is to build a loyalty relationship with people that you know is going to take care of you and be there long term. And again, that's one of the things I had found from people that come out of the institution that have gone through programs like Carlos, and what Carlos does as far as teaching these men and preparing them for an exit back into public society. I'm saying this with the most truthful, straightforward disposition that I can convey. Carlos and what he's doing is the most dynamic, most impacting program and person I've ever seen interact and give to the community. Like I said, I grew up poor, grew up in kind of a rough environment myself. I've played in the NFL, I've been in the military, I've been at the Pentagon as a special guest speaker. I've kind of seen a little bit of everybody, and I've just never seen anybody with Carlos's dynamic. So I highly encourage anybody that has the time to volunteer or has the resources to help and want to contribute back. You've got to get a hold of Carlos and definitely support his program.
I learned quickly how business could be, if done right, a tool to provide employment for individuals once they got out of prison. And I realized that a lot of things could be done even pre-incarceration differently. Early childhood education, for example, if we had a stronger emphasis on that, perhaps less folks would end up incarcerated in the first place. So just the whole social justice paradigm dealing with mass incarceration became something I started to reflect on quite a bit. Helping folks to think strategically about developing a new network of friends, for example, thinking strategically about how to kind of break out that internal prison that's keeping them in bondage, that may have been a result of circumstances early on that they couldn't have controlled, whether it was a disintegrated family environment, a negative culture, a neighborhood that didn't have as many resources as other neighborhoods. Like whatever those circumstances were that helped create those prison bars, Carlos does an excellent job helping individuals think in such a way as to get outside of that prison that exists internally.
A lot of times, when we run into people that are doing outside ministry that are not based in the church, we don't support it. And so the Spirit of the Lord just told me that we need to get behind Elder Carlos and start supporting his ministry. And so we vowed to make a $20 donation a week. I know it may not be much to some, but we're just a small congregation starting out. But, I believe that we should support him, not just, a lot of times people say, well, we'll pray for your ministry and we'll just push you on out there and let you go do your thing. But ministry costs something. It costs money, amen. And so I think some other churches should get involved with this because he's helping our brothers and sisters. All of us have somebody in our family that's locked up. I mean, cousins, aunts, uncles, brothers, sisters, friends. And so they need to be ministered to. I'm talking about effective ministry. And so I just like what he was doing, and I thought it was a valuable tool that I could use, amen. And he was more in the aspect of us helping him, but he's really helping our ministry, amen, because it's a blessing for us to be able to help our brothers and sisters that we might not be able to touch them, but he can touch them. And so, but you need money to support ministry. And so we just want to give him the money to help him go out and do the things that he does, amen. And anytime we can support him, that's what we're going to do. So if he sets up a conference or something, he has some people. He doesn't have to go out and try to hunt up people to come in and work the conference or work whatever he has to do. We will be there available to do those things with him, amen, and support him financially. So I just believe that churches need to get behind movements like this and put our money where our mouth is what I told him.
What prompted me to go ahead and, to support this is because I'm a firm believer in if it's anything that's good, that's going to benefit people, in the community, in the world, as a body of Christ, then I'm going to back it up 100%. Right. So, that's what makes me, feel that prompt to go ahead and support it. Now, you can't get me to come out to do something negative because right. I'm definitely not backing that up. But if it's something for good, you can definitely count on me.
It's organizations like Carlos's that I think will really help to cut the recidivism rate, help people to get back on their feet, help them to feel good about who they are and to have control over their lives. Our church, we want to be contributors. I want to encourage others to contribute and to be a part of this movement. And I think it should be able to go, not only statewide, but countrywide.
Mm-hmm. I was accepted into the program, and man, that program changed my life, It gave me so much information that is crazy. Man, I've been using the information to this day, and I will continue to use the information that I've learned.
I've been incarcerated 24 and a half years. I got incarcerated May 15th of 1993. So if you can look back in your own personal thoughts and try to think of what was going on at that time, it was that long. I felt that by the time the year was up, I was able to really be prepared to be released. Because it's one thing to think that you're prepared, But you have to have some actual tools, and you have to have some information that you'll be able to enact when you get into a real life situation and real world happenings. So, after that year-long class, I felt confident. I felt ready. By the time I had approached the brother towards the end of the class and told him that the full board hearing was coming up. And what I said to him is that I need you to represent. Since I can't be present, I need you to go there and I need you to represent and let them know who I am, And so the brother did that. He got with my family. He got with Angelique, this is my fiance. He got with my niece, my sister, my mom, and he took care of it. He spoke from his heart. He spoke from knowledge. He spoke from a place of wisdom. And as you can see, God opened the doors, and we are here today.
Hey, Russ, how you doing,
Good to see you, man.
Hey, good to see you, brother. Man, I ain't seen you in a little bit, man.
Been working hard, have you?
Absolutely.
Making a difference?
Absolutely, man. It's my assignment, know.
As always, we're glad to have you here and glad
Yes.
to have you as a part of our group. So
Yes.
We completely support what you're doing, and we think it's a great partnership having you here with us.
Yes, absolutely. I appreciate your support. Appreciate everything that Delaware County Jail does, to push starts within organization and our initiative is very important.
Well, I think you're making a difference. You're making a difference in here, and most importantly, once you make a difference out there so these folks aren't returning. So
yes,
we're glad to be a part of it and just excited that we have the partnership.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Let's make it happen.
All right, man.
All right.
When I look back 6 years ago, 5 years ago, when you were introduced to me and your program, to be honest with you, I had some reservations. Because first of all, the jail environment was relatively new to me, and we didn't want to compromise security. And I also wanted to make sure that any programming that we brought in was quality programming.
Yes.
So I still recall very clearly our first introduction, and I was kind of doing an interview and vetting you to make sure you not only could talk the talk, but you could walk the walk.
Absolutely.
And it wasn't shortly thereafter that I became very confident in what you were doing. And having read through your book and talked to people that you had an impact on, I knew early on we wanted to have you in our jail, because at the end of the day, what we want to do is the brief period of time that we've got them here, if we can change their lives and get them back into the community and living valuable lives in the community. We don't want them in our jail.
Yes.
We don't want law enforcement having to deal with them.
So, Russ, I know that you purchased the books and where you get the money for the books at, but can you just highlight where do you get that money from for the book Prison Without Bars? So y'all done purchased like 400 or 500 copies of the book, right? And it's just, where does that money come from?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because one of the important things that we do is when we're enforcing drug laws on the street, our detectives and our drug task force has taken seized drug money off the street, and we're taking that and investing it back into the community. So we're using some of that legally seized drug fund money and investing it back into the lives of inmates and in programs and in education to make a difference. So we are committed to doing that, and we think it's kind of turning the tables on the drug dealers, because they're out there trying to make a profit off of ruining people's lives, and we're interested in taking some of that money and changing people's lives for good.
Absolutely, and that is powerful, because that is what the book Prison Without Bars is all about, is how do you overcome a mentality to get you incarcerated, right? Versus pointing the finger at everybody else, it says we need to start to figure out how to overcome a mentality that gets you incarcerated. And if you have the information, then that's how we get it done, right?
Absolutely, and I think one of the things that I've been encouraged about is that I believe that most of our corrections officers, they do their job with empathy and with concern, and they realize that most people that are generally incarcerated, they were brought up in tough circumstances. They haven't had some of the opportunities that maybe some people have had, and they've made poor choices in the street. And that's why I think it's important that we provide everything we can to them to help them change their life, turn their life around, become citizens that are contributing to their communities, as opposed to sitting in a jail cell. I would much rather have an empty jail than a full jail, and know that those people are out contributing in our communities and making a positive difference for the cities and towns that they live in.
Yes, that makes sense. So our goal is literally to create more jail cells like this, right?
That's right.
That's our mission. And I believe that we can get it done just with, I literally believe that. When I go out there and do the work that I do, I believe that. And I know that you are on Twitter and I see your leadership. I see the leadership tweets, and I'm just always inspired by your insight of what it takes to be a leader, right?
Well, I appreciate that. I think at the end of the day, that the best leaders really do care about people on an individual level.
Yes.
And even though I've been in law enforcement for a long time and have put a lot of people in jail, at the end of the day, for the most part, I realized that they made poor decisions, that their impact was a result of perhaps how they've been brought up, how they've been trained. And if we can reach those people, reach them in their heart, and reach them in their mind, and begin to turn their lives around, ultimately that's good for everybody.
Yes, absolutely. And that's where we are at with it. And that's what I believe. And I believe that we got something going here. I think that Delaware County Jail is a bit ahead of the curve, I believe, as far as with the programming. You know, a lot of county jails are we just house and go to your next location. But Delaware County Jail has really started with programming, and I think that that's powerful. And it's done under your leadership, so I appreciate that.
Well, I think we've got a great jail staff.
Yes.
I've got great people in leadership in the jail. They feel the same way that I do. They have a tough job each and every day, but they're doing it at a high professional level. And I don't like to think about jail as just a warehouse for people.
Yes.
But if it's an opportunity while they're a captive audience, literally, to try to reach them in how they think and how they interact with their community, if we can turn their lives around, that's just good for everybody.
Absolutely. I totally agree. So then our idea is to get them from here and these little cells and back into the households with their families. That's key.
You're a living example of that.
Yes.
And as I said at the onset, you just don't talk the talk.
Yes, absolutely.
You've walked the walk.
Absolutely.
And frankly, you've been there, and it's an encouragement to me in law enforcement. Listen, we see a lot of discouraging things day in and day out in law enforcement. I've put a lot of people in jail, but when you see lives change, it really encourages, inspires the men and women that wear the uniform, that wear the star, badge, and shield. So don't dismiss the importance of what you're doing, not only for the incarcerated, but for those men and women that are in the field or in the corrections environment working in that. So keep up the good work.
Absolutely, I definitely will, and you do the same, bro.
All right, man. It's a great partnership.
Appreciate you. Great partnership, man. All right, thanks.
I think about the ripple effect, about how you did 10 years in prison, got out, started your own program. You came to Southeastern Correction. I took your program. I got out of the institution, started Think, Make, Live, went out to the juvenile facility, and he was a part of my program, and now he's about to start his own program. So it's a ripple effect of changing generations. You see 3 generations standing right here that's never giving up on going out, making a positive change, showing that we can, as restored citizens, be a change agent in our community, be a change agent for our families, and be a change agent for the people that are looking up to us for being successful leaders. So I'm glad to be a part of this, man, and I'm grateful to be around some positive black men that's trying to do some positive things.
Most definitely, man. Like, I just really believe, and I'm excited about where we are going with it, because like you said, we got 3 of us right here, you know, and we can't miss, you know.
Nothing but growth from here.
Absolutely. And I'm in Circleville doing the Father Factor right now with the juveniles inside of Circleville who was in there when you was in there. And when I tell them that you are out and you doing positive, it gives them the inspiration that they can do positive as well.
I'm actually speaking in the juvenile correctional facility that's downtown in Columbus.
to the young men that's on their way to Circleville,
Yes.
on their way to prison, enlightening
Yes.
them and encouraging them, letting them know that no matter if they got 1 year or 10 years, your time is nothing but preparation for the day you come home.
Most definitely.
Don't waste none of that time.
Ain't no doubt. That's the mindset. And that's something that, because I'm going into Franklin County Juvenile Detention Center too next week. So, and I'm about to implement a program inside of there, the Father Factor.
Okay.
But yeah, but just, man, working with them and just letting them know how to go. Because a lot of times people don't even know how to do their time, man. They think that they gotta get into that gang. They think that they gotta, put on that mask. They think that they gotta continue to have that mentality. And what does that mentality get them at the end of the day, man? But reincarcerated, right? So, powerful brothers, man. Like, we gonna get it done, right? We gonna make it happen, man. Ain't no doubt, man. We think change, we make change, and we live change. And that's the bottom line, man. And that's what it's all about, man, most definitely. It starts within. And the only way that we can think change, make change, and live change is that we start within. Absolutely. To men. So this is what it is. The only way that we can think change and make change and live change is that it starts within, and we gotta be able to have grown from boys to men. Absolutely.
It is.
That's what it is. Before change can be seen externally, change must be done internally.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Peace.
Peace.
We have traveled far, but we can go a long way just to find ourselves. And it can be a struggle when your life is on the shelf and you don't have no one else. You gotta do it by yourself. Gratefulness is how I live today. It took a long time coming, but now I'm on my way. Just be you. Just be you. Unspoken philosophy made my dreams come true. How can you forgive that person when that person is you? And I'm not focused on people saying I'm strong. I just don't have a reason to give up. Gratefulness is how I live today. It took a long time coming, but now I'm on my way. Just be you.
Opportunity is still an opportunity, no matter if you capitalize on it or not. For you, it'll just get classified as a missed opportunity. Opportunity is still opportunity. So that's something that's very critical. And this is the same approach that we use with Starts Within organization. We believe that preparation is key. Preparation is key. So what we do is we go inside of the institutions for 52 weeks and we get the guys ready to come home. So when they come home, they'll be prepared. So we say, you gotta walk like you need to walk before you come home. You can't walk like you wanna walk when you come home because it'll be too late and you'll be back in within a year. Guaranteed.
It starts within.
Swole.
It starts within. It starts within.
We searching for that salvation. We need that good solution. We need that boost before we cut loose from that institution. You gotta walk that path, believe that your time is coming. Get properly prepared and hit the ground running. It starts within the prison. It starts within your dome. You could get your credit straight before you come home. And when you hit the streets, you know that you could be content. Time is quality, no matter where that time spent. Your boy done graduated. Yeah, I finally made it. Now today I say I'm truly rehabilitated. Y'all should snap a photo. I'm a walking logo. I went from rotting in the cell to rocking hella polo. So when you feeling stranded, feeling like you can't manage, you could be productive. Don't take that time for granted. Truthfully, I had to seize that opportunity. They tried to ruin me. Now I'm an asset to my community. Swole, 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 swole.
It starts within.
Swole, 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 swole.
It starts within.
This is a mission. This is a mission. And everybody in this room, we combine together to get it done. Everybody else can stay on the sideline, cool. But us in here, we get it done. We get it done. This is a mission. And this is how we're going to make a difference. Starting with an organization is just not just talking. We are putting things together and really doing things. And the people that we have in place are passionate about getting stuff done. Period.
It starts within, we partnering all across the nation, helping reduce the rate of reincarceration. It starts within, mentoring, providing education. Don't relapse to criminal behavior, don't violate probation. Reevaluate yourself, become redesigned. Get refined and begin with the end in mind. When you release, conduct yourself in a proper manner. Opportunity knocks, preparation answers. Swole, 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 swole.
It starts within.
Swole, 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 swole.
It starts within.
Because I had one thought in my mind when I came home. I said, I had all of these things about, I had things like what I was going to do, and I was going to come home, I was going to put together a rap career, I was going to be a rapper, I was going to do this, I was going to do that. But one thing that stayed true is what I said I wasn't going to do. And that was not going to put myself back in a position to be reincarcerated. So what I say is like, so what do we have to do? We have to get guys prepared. I say, well, I got to start within. So I started to open up scripture, so I started digging into scripture. And that's how I started to change my way of thinking, as I dug into scripture. And I started to really implement that into my life. And that's what helped me to start to change my decision making and the way that I was doing things. It starts within. Before change can be seen externally, change must be done internally. Thank you.
Lately I feel lonely. All these things are weighing on me. Lately I've been thinking about the past. There's some things I can't erase. Those the closest can't relate. I'm lonely, feel lonely.
Lately I've been feeling so lonely because everybody's so phony. Only got a handful of friends. I only trust a handful of men. I don't fake and pretend. I don't try to fit in. I don't lie to my friends. Ride or die to the end, nigga. And back then caught a body. We took the ends from the body. I made amends for the body. I did over 10 for the body. I don't recommend to nobody to be going in on somebody. Nah, you judging me probably for taking part in the robbery, for acting ungodly. Got a couple bad bones in my body. Some wanna throw stones at my body. God forgive me if I wronged anybody. I fall short like everybody, and that's the truth in its entirety. Yeah. I look in the mirror, there's a kid and he's carrying the pain of mistakes. The reflection's getting clearer, shows the image of a man with a chance to be great. Yeah. I'm leery of every hand that I shake. Not everybody's a fan, so they hate me.
Lately I feel lonely.
Lately I've been feeling so
all
lonely.
these things
Lately I've been feeling so
weighing on me.
Lately
Lately I've been thinking about the past. There's some things I can't erase. Those the closest can't relate. I'm lonely, feel lonely.
I don't talk to my son much. Damn. Somewhere along the way we lost touch. I think his mother had him gassed up because his attitude doesn't add up. And his body language doesn't match up. Hope one day things can be patched up. Hope we can both sit down and catch up and put our differences behind us. I never did recover from my childhood, so I'm misunderstood. Grew up in a single parent home. Daddy's a Rolling Stone and Gladys did everything that she could. I became a product of the hood. Then I got acknowledged by the hood. Homage to the hood. They say it's all bad, but some of the best times I ever had make it difficult to stay away for good. You already know.
Lately I feel lonely.
Lately I've been feeling so
all
lonely.
these things weighing on me. Lately I've been thinking about the past. There's some things I can't erase. Those the closest can't relate. I'm lonely, feel lonely.
We agreed to go our separate ways. I haven't spoke to her in several days. The nights are getting cold and gray, and Christmas just a month away. It hurts for me to walk away. What hurt me even more if I decide to stay. I get down on my knees and pray, and she was gone the following day. I put it in God's hands. I guess it wasn't in God's plans. And now that we finally broken up in time, I open up to giving somebody else a chance. But for now,
lately I feel lonely. All these things weighing on me. Lately I've been thinking about the past. There's some things I can't erase. Those the closest can't relate. I'm lonely, feel lonely.